views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
The following audio is via a Skype call.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Wow. Hey, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yep. Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show, Transformation Talk Radio. And, you know, we got a great show lined up for you today, as always. Mr. Benny, just a shout out to you. How are you? How you, BB?
I be good. Shout out back to yous.
Yeah, boy, we're being good. We're the good. We're the being. The
B&B without the B.
I know. Like, this
Something
is
like
it. We had a good show. We're going to be talking about the lost art of heart navigation, a modern shaman's field manual. Jeff Nixa is joining us here today. We're going to be talking with him about that. We also, for those of you out there, we got a copy of the book to give away later on in the show, and we're going to make sure we do that. The question really that I love exploring is, do we have within us, do we have that shaman energy within us? Each and every one of us. Do we have that thing in us? And that's really kind of cool. You know, more than just talking about some of the activations going on this year, talking about maybe you're thinking about, you heard the show, you know, about tarot. Benny, is that you?
No, I think that might be our guest, actually. He's getting excited. He's typing away.
Jeff, what are you doing? What are you doing over
I was adjusting my chair. I apologize.
See, he's got to get comfortable for the show.
Boy,
We're all about
good
that.
Mic.
I'm thinking he's getting fired up to do this show here,
I'm sitting up straight.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought I was going to get some drumming or something here in a minute. And so here we are for those of you. Let me introduce you to Jeff. What I love, just say hi.
Hi.
All right. What I love is in 15 years, I've gotten to meet some of the most incredible people. You know, he and Jeff is one of them. You know, when you think about what you say yes to in your life, and then you step out in the world and you get to a place where you can write a book about the lost art of heart navigation, something must have changed. Things must have changed. How do we find our tribe? But more importantly, do you even know you're part of a tribe? Jeff, it's great to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Pat. A real privilege and a great gift to me to be able to speak, especially just a little aside. I was looking at my book sales numbers, locations the other day on Amazon. They'll show you around the nation.
Yeah.
And a huge cluster of book sales have been in Seattle.
Yeah.
I mean, they're sprinkled all over, but so I'm especially glad to be talking to your people out there.
Well, you know, part of what happens is, I don't know if you know this about us, but by the time you get on the show, like today, we have already told close to 20,000 people in the previous 2 weeks that you're coming on the show. And
thank you.
And the reason we do that is because not everybody can listen live. Not everybody can listen live. Not everybody listens in the same way. You know, I don't know if you know this, but moms over the age of 35 have the largest market share on internet podcast listening on their cell phones and other digital media than any other demographic.
Interesting.
They've been our listeners for 15 years. We love you all. well, whether you're a mom or you're not a mom, we love you all anyway. But most of the time, it's about the spiritual journey. So thank you for joining me here today. I want to ask you a question before we get into the book. Look, I have a backstory about my life, which I've been sharing here and there over 15 years. I think everyone's got a backstory. My first vision quest was in 1997, came out of the blue with a woman. Her name was Sidonia Cahill. She became my mentor. She became my friend. And together we started to put together vision quests for corporate people. What has been the long and windy road for you? And how did your beginnings get you to the present?
Thank you, Pat. That's a beautiful gift, that question. This book and my shamanic story begins about 3 hours south of you in Portland, Oregon. I was a first-year law student, Lewis and Clark Law School. And I was one lost guy. I was earnest and hardworking. I was smart, a socially concerned fellow who just wanted to do some good in the world. But it was not my path. And within days of being in these classes, I had this sense that I wasn't supposed to be there. And it was a terrifying awareness because I moved all the way from the Midwest, from Minnesota, quit my job, the apartment and investing in school and all this. And this voice inside, which at the time I didn't know what it was and didn't know how to honor it, was saying, not this, not this. And so being frightened and not knowing what to do with that, I just sort of clamped down on the voice and I plowed ahead. I believe in recovery, it's called white knuckling it through.
Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah.
And, very long story short, I made it through the first year, but I developed all kinds of physical issues, depression, anxiety, and GI issues and stomach aches, and took a year off, to my credit, and went out to New York City and had this vague dream of trying to sort of find myself and tried. I drove a cab during the daytime and waited tables in the evening and tried to find something artistic, creative. But it was brutal because I didn't have a support group and I didn't even have a car out there. I wound up back in my hometown that winter in my childhood bed, just feeling like an utter failure and confused and just like, what happened? I had felt like a successful guy on the way at the end of college. And I went back to law school. I finished because I didn't know what else to do. And again, the physical issues returned. And I was about to take the bar exam, the Oregon bar exam. And I was on the road. I mean, just through sheer hard work, I had become successful. I'd won moot court competitions, and I was actually interviewing for clerkships with the Oregon Supreme Court justices for jobs, which was an esteemed role. I'd worked for the district attorney in Portland, and but things just felt out of joint. And right about then, I met a young woman who turned out to be my wife years later. But she was working in a church, doing very basic work, serving the poor, social justice kind of work, and really opened my eyes to what I saw in her was a person whose external life was aligned to her heart. She wasn't making hardly any money, but she had lots of friends and was doing she just radiated. She's just a vital person. And something in me recognized that. Again, at the time, I didn't know what was going on and I couldn't see the implications for myself. But I left the law at that point, and she invited me to play guitar. And this was a Catholic parish down there, and play guitar in a little folk group and start doing some real basic work with people. And something in me came alive. And that was the beginning of a 20-year struggle, but a more defined struggle to get clear in my heart. I basically made a 20-year career out of being a hospital chaplain, doing spiritual care work with people and some hospice work and extended care. And even that, it felt like I was in the ballpark, like I'm in the right field, but it's still, I kind of itched and chafed with the role, the clerical institutional role. It never really felt like me. And then in about 2009, I did a vision quest like you did. And what came to me was a very simple but powerful impulse to simplify, just clear the deck of my entire busy, overscheduled, crazy American life.
Yeah.
And listen. And I engaged in a apprenticeship with a powerful shamanic healer in Southwest Michigan named Michael Smith. And that began the process of getting clear on my heart and beginning to use my inner wildness. You asked at the beginning of the show, do we have that shamanic energy in us? And I would say, hell yes, we all do. You don't have to be a medium or a mystic or even a particularly religious person, but we all have this compass in us that we have forgotten about. We've lost the art. And that was what my book was about, was reclaiming and regaining this art that all our ancestors, all indigenous people know about.
Yeah. You know what I love about being able to talk with you, because you and I have quite similar experiences. And I didn't know, though, here's a tricky question to talk about when we talk about heart navigation. And we can talk about this when we come back from break. I was reading your book, and one of the things I was really struck by is that sometimes when we're seeking a vision, right? When we're seeking a vision, we run into other shamans on the way, whether we know them spiritually. I happen to be one of these people that grew up absolutely adoring Jesus, but not the way we talk about Jesus today in the form of Christianity. I have a very, very innocent, almost magical introduction to him when I was a child. But along the way, I think what we do sometimes is we forget about how the heart can walk through fire, and how the heart can not just emerge beautifully, but the idea of walking through fire is written in many, many, many thousands of years old stories, right?
Yes.
Anywhere you turn. The question that I'd like to explore with you, that you talk so brilliantly about in the book, is the many faces of a modern shaman. How is it today that we can pull, Jeff, from these ancient wisdom teachings so that we can imagine not just a world that's magical and mystical, but modern, that is relevant, that even uses social media? Stay tuned. We're going to take a short break. We come back. We're going to hear a lot from Jeff on this and give a copy of his book away. We'll be right back. Wow. Hey, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. This is Talk Radio to Thrive By. I'm telling you, I got to pinch myself some days, because when each of us gets called to do something that we so not thought was in our wheelhouse to do for a purpose that's so much greater than us, we get to show up and shine.
If you would like to show up and shine on the Dr. Pat Show as a co-host or sponsor, send us an email to inspire@thedrpatshow.com.
Who's ready to shine in 2018? Hi, I'm Wendy Rose Williams, certified spiritual teacher, past life regressionist, Reiki master, author, and radio host. Want to bring your unique message on air with me as part of the Transformation Talk Radio Network and Soul Wisdom Radio platform? Call 425-502-0362 or visit wendyrosewilliams.com to learn how you can expand your reach by sponsoring or advertising with Soul Wisdom Radio.
Hi, I'm Steve Kramer of Spirit Fire Radio, and I believe that meditation changes everything. It leads us in the direction of greater well-being, and that's a fact. I struggled with meditation for years. I understood the principles, but I found it hard to incorporate them into my everyday life. Spirit Fire's meditation practice changed that. It's called the Practice of Living Awareness, and it's taught in 14 steps. These are 14 tools that I can use in any moment, on and off the cushion. Steps like smile, flow, and ground of being support my clarity of mind while I'm navigating the ups and downs of modern life. That's why it's called the Practice of Living Awareness. If you'd like to add meditation to your daily experience, The practice of living awareness is free, online, and it's suited for any level of practitioner. Visit spiritfire.com for more information. And be sure to check out Spirit Fire's meditation retreats in Western Massachusetts. It's all there at spiritfire.com.
Do you know how powerful your thoughts and beliefs are in determining your experience of your life? Is it really true that simply by changing some of the words you use in your day-to-day language, that you can change your life? I'm Megan Edge. Join me on Playing on the Edge, Radical Change with Ease, with my co-host Dr. Pat on Transformation Talk Radio. I look forward to seeing you there.
To find out more about Megan Edge, visit her website at meganedge.ca.
Tune in to Mainstream Metaphysics Radio to harness your connection with the universe to effect change for optimal success and happiness. Named one of the country's top psychics, Eve now brings her insights and gifts to this weekly hit call-in show, joined by visionaries, leaders, and gifted others, but mostly you. Jot it down. Thursdays, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Wow. Hey, everybody. Listen, we're going to be taking your questions today because if you're anything like me, you might have a few. I see what Jeff has done in the book and what he's written about as an invitation for all of us to spread our wings. And I love this. I love this. I love what he's talking about. I love the way he's talking about it. You know, in 15 years, I'm so thrilled that you can write a book about modern shaman and then talk about Jesus in the same book. But it's the way we're talking about it. We're talking about it because things have changed. Energies have changed. Planets have shifted. You know, the vibration of this full moon that's coming, everybody's talking about it. And now Jeff Nixa comes along and says, wait a minute. Yeah. I'm a shaman practitioner. I'm a teacher. I'm a writer. I founded Great Plains shamanic programs. I've done this, but that's not the whole story. We can be modern shamans. Yes, Jeff, I know you didn't know you signed up for this interview today, but you happen to get me at this time. Before we kind of launch into the book again, and Benny, before I give a copy away, how can people find out more about you? More importantly, how can they participate in your tribal rituals?
Yeah, they can go to my website. It's kind of my the hub of the wheel, greatplainsguide.net, greatplainsguide.net. It lists all what I do, the basic programs I offer, from wilderness programs to the one-on-one fire talk programs I do, some of the education I've done, a lot about my background. I'm offering a volunteer program, for example, this June on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation in South Dakota. Take people out there for a week, and we do some work in exchange for interactions with some of the tribal elders in the evenings to really connect and get to know the people who, you know, never forgot this kind of work. So that's the best way to find me is through the website and my email, greatplainsguide@gmail.com. People want to get a hold of me directly.
All right. So I want everybody, listen, I want to say something, and then I would love for you to talk about it, especially about what you're doing in the book. God, I hope I can talk about this without crying. Wow. Wow, that just came up. So I mentioned to you that in 1997, I met a woman. Now, I was a corporate consultant. You know, other than being Dr. Pat on the radio and what I do, my life before this was I was one of the most sought after consultants to implement change in companies. As a matter of fact, I worked at Snohomish County PUD up here and completely redesigned all of their systems, right? That was my life. And then I met a woman by the name of Sidonia Cahill. This is a woman, lived in California, and for 30 years had been taking people out into the high desert and having each of us experience what it means to be so connected with what you talk about, that heart and that heart navigation. and the heart navigation aspect of our lives. But I was so not ready for this, Jeff. I was so not ready. And I want to talk with you about that. There was something that happened to me on that 10-day vision quest, 3 days with water only, in the high desert, in a medicine wheel, in ways that only I could write about in a journal. I've never known how to talk about it. But when the teacher shows up, somehow our lives change. I want to ask you, you've been working with people all over the world. They come to work with you. They come to change their lives. This book is about tapping into what you do one-on-one with people. Why is this day and age, the energy that I just described, why is it what I call right now the spiritual ultimatum? This is the time for us to step into that. Please help us understand that and how your book guides people along.
Yeah, well, to use the language of traditional shamanism, we've lost our soul collectively as a community, as a culture. Indigenous people, have known this all along, and it's a terrific irony that we first showed to the Europeans, my ancestors, who showed up on this continent and looked at these lovely, earth-honoring, wise, deeply spiritual people who understood the earth and nature at the center of everything, the spirit of that. And they looked at these people and decided that they were too uneducated, too unspiritual, too unreligious, too primitive to really be of any value. And we know the rest of the story. And it's quite striking to me that at this point in our American culture that we're now realizing how empty-hearted we are, how empty-handed we are, and as evidenced by just personally what we're doing to our own bodies, the fact that we cannot hold still, we can't stand to be alone with ourselves, and what we're doing to the earth, our harm to our mother, as Indigenous people understand it. So, we're running out of time, and the earth, I suspect, will recover. But we're at a real critical point, and as you know, and your listeners know. So for me, I'm a hopeful guy. I'm a glass half full kind of guy. And so in my book, what I'm trying to do is say it doesn't have to be like this on various levels. Personally, if your life is stagnant, it may be successful, but that doesn't mean you're happy, of course. So how to reconnect, or maybe for the first time, find that inner wildness, the inner instinctual self, and to feed that and to bring that alive. I tell a brief story in the book about, we're kind of like someone who stands in front of the mirror every morning with a cup of coffee and complains, I can't lose 10 pounds, and we go through life, people handing us like we're a fat cat being dished a dish of cat food every day. And it's like, oh, well, I guess this is my life. But there's another cat. There's an inner jaguar in us that doesn't give a damn about 5 pounds or dishes of cat food, that wants to thrive and prowl and be alive and do something valuable in the world. So the book, as shamanic tradition is quite simple in a way. It's just trying to help people come alive, to help people have all their Christmas lights lit up at one time and live a forward-directed life of purpose and vitality and joy, instead of, a careful, cautious life where you're basically making decisions to avoid risk, minimize difficulty and so on.
Jeff, I want to really talk to that too, because I'm finding that in the world we live in, there's one of the things that you talk about so beautifully is I'm finding that I think we all have to become shapeshifters.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean by that?
Yes,
It may sound a little strange. Can we talk about that for a minute? Because you talk about shape-shifting in the book. And I do believe that the part of the shape-shifting has got to really address letting go of fear-based living, because we are doing that 24/7. We make decisions now that are fear-based and we don't even know it. And I do not think that that is what our heart and our soul has been calling us forward to do.
Yes, Pat. And I love the phrase you used to describe yourself as being a street smart woman from Brooklyn or Bronx? Brooklyn.
Bronx, from the Bronx.
The Bronx. All right.
Yeah.
Because I'm quite passionate and about being a practical person. Some people who are drawn to this work, they're quite astral people, right? And then they can see visions and they can talk about celestial realms and the aura around your cat, but they can't organize their checkbook or clean out the fridge. That people are ungrounded. And I come from a working class family.
Yeah.
And I don't really care what people have to say unless it's practical for my life and is going to do something for the world, not just speculating about external realms. So I, like you, have a certain temperament of that street smartness in me. And point being, we're all shapeshifters. Absolutely. And I get a little frustrated with some people who project themselves in this field as if they have some special gift, something esoteric that people need to come to them and pay them to experience, and then ideally keep coming back and paying. It's kind of like endless spiritual chiropractic visits, like you never get off the treadmill. And what I'm trying to do in this book is empower people to activate their inner shapeshifter, the inner shaman. To use a phrase by Don Miguel Ruiz of the Four Agreements fame, that to become an artist of one's life in the Toltec sense. We all have that. It's just that we're not encouraged to think about ourselves that way, and told even that it's risky or at worst evil, in a religious sense that's too selfish. So we all have this capacity. It's not complicated. It's just difficult because of all the barriers inside us and culturally around us to really doing what we want, what brings our heart alive.
Yeah. And, this is really part of the invitation that we're talking about today for folks, is that our heart is calling us forward. But how about the navigation part of it, the lost art of heart navigation? And what that means is it really, for me, it points to looking at, one, how do we pay attention to our heart? Two, how do we recognize that our heart perhaps might be the pilot and our mind the co-pilot? Just a thought, everybody. And then with that in mind, how do we follow the winds that blow so that as we're navigating, we're navigating based on this thing we call the journey? When we come back, we're going to talk about that and there's some just beautiful stories in the book, just beautiful stories. When we come back, we're going to talk about how do you navigate through what we call turbulence? What if you could rise above the turbulence? What does it look like? And how does Jeff help us do that? We'll be right back.
If you're dealing with fear and anxiety, you've probably noticed that the more you fight these emotions, the stronger they seem to get. Dr. Friedemann Schaub, the author of The Fear and Anxiety Solution, explains that instead of suppressing, we need to identify and resolve the deeper, subconscious root causes of fear and anxiety. His personal breakthrough program has helped thousands worldwide to overcome their emotional challenges. To learn more, visit thefearandanxietysolution.com and schedule your free consultation with Dr. Schaub now.
Defining success and putting minds to work. With the Higher Learners Career and Leadership Series, Rudy Racine will help you craft your personal definition of success, offering support and guidance as you move forward towards your goals. Take the leap. With the right mix of focus and motivation, anything can be achieved. Tune in every first and third Monday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 Eastern, and for more information on Rudy Racine and Higher Learners, visit Rudy's site at higherlearners.com. That's HIRE learners.com.
To see your life from an angel's perspective, book a personal consultation with Claire Candy Huff.
Angelic Walk-In Angel Ariel at Angel Healing House. Candy provides intuitive counseling, Reiki, and angel readings in person in Los Angeles or nationally and internationally via phone or Skype. She will channel the practical tools you need to transform your life. Call now 831-277-3716 or visit angelhealinghouse.com.
Tune in to The Jen Royster Show, intuitive guidance to inspire your life, each Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Eastern on TransformationTalkRadio.com. This amazing show is an inspirational hour that will take you on an epic metaphysical journey to discover the spiritual approach to life's greatest challenges. Dr. Jen is an internationally known intuitive counselor, spiritual teacher, and energy healer. Call in for intuitive readings and visit JenRoyster.com for more information.
To find answers to life's questions, you need to look within yourself. Dr. Glenna Rice brings your questionable conversations on Transformation Talk Radio each month. Tune in each month for insight into how you can live up to your full potential. Dr. Glenna is a physical therapist, certified Access Consciousness, and Access Body Class Facilitator. How does it get any better than this? For more information on Dr. Glenna Rice and her work, visit glennarice.com.
Are you ready to make deep, lasting, transformative changes? Then tune in each month on Transformation Talk Radio for Susanna Jameson's hit show, Love, Light, Sound Radio. During her show, Susanna inspires and supports spiritually and health-conscious individuals all over the world to reconnect with their hearts, their inner peace, and balance. Love, Light, Sound Radio. Transformation happens here now. For more information, visit SusannaJameson.com.
And the walls kept tumbling down in the city that we love. Grey clouds all over the hills, bringing darkness from above. But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like...
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. It's so great to have all of you tune us in and turn us on. For those of you out there, if you want to find out more about me, you can go to the drpatshow.com, of course. And if you want to find out more about the network, you can go to transformationradio.fm, or better yet, go directly to Transformation Talk Radio. Facebook, Transformation Talk Radio as well. Jeff Nixa joining me here today. He's a fabulous book, The Lost Art of Heart Navigation, a modern shaman's field manual. And it is a field manual. Jeff, before we talk about bringing some of these very practical actions to the forefront that you identify in your book, again, please let folks know how they can find out more about you.
Yes, they can find my website with a great deal of information at greatplainsguide.net. It's greatplainsguide.net. Or they can email me directly at greatplainsguide@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook at Great Plains Shamanic Programs.
Awesome. Benny, let's give a copy of the book away. First caller calls in. Love to give you a copy of Jeff's book. 1-800-930-2819. Go ahead and give us a shout. 1-800-930-2819. Yeah, Benny, say hi to Benny. Jeff, let's talk about the practical nature of this, because a lot of times people don't really explore that inner part of themselves because A, they think they're not qualified, and B, they think that they have to be something different than they are. But your book makes it really clear that that's not the case. Where can we start to give people some things to look at, look for, or even do to start the journey?
Yeah, and thus the subtitle of my book, A Modern Shaman's Field Manual. And I was real specific about that phrase, field manual, akin to the old Army military field manuals, that would help a soldier in the field figure out how to fix a broken axle, right? Or do practical, or catch a rabbit if they're starving. So the book is intended to be extremely practical, give the reader actual things they can do right now without having to pay somebody for services or go on journeys or trips. So here's some examples in the book of just compiling a lot of the things I learned in my own training from my teachers. There's a series of what I call core questions, 10 core questions that are carefully designed to help a person quickly get to the so-called heart, their soul, their core of aliveness. For example, an open-ended question like, think of a time when you felt naturally yourself with no hindrance whatsoever. Naturally yourself. So the person would, think of a time like that and write that down. And think of a time when you were deeply satisfied, felt deeply satisfied in a certain experience or in a relationship. And on and on and on. And these questions, they're not complicated, but they're all constellated to hit by hit help a person get a sense of the contours of their soul, their unique soul and psyche. Kind of like sonar sends pings, sound pings down to the bottom of the ocean and can detect and even image things like, say, a sunken ship that you cannot see visually, but by assembling the points, or like a child connect the points art book. So with all these questions at the end, you compile them, the responses. You see patterns over time in your answers. You see keywords and phrases that have more aliveness in them. Ideally, this is done with a partner just because there's more vitality and dynamic energy in the process. It's what I do in my fire talks. But at the end of this, it takes an hour or so. You have the individual sit down and write a careful statement of what they know in their heart to be true about themselves. And this is a core self, a glimpse, incomplete but accurate glimpse of their so-called heart. And then the next phase, taking this new little awareness, a new, small but powerful core awareness of our essence, that part of us that never changes, no matter who we're in relationship with, no matter what our job is or where we're living or what our bank account says. We take that and extend our vision, our imagination outwards and say, what kind of life would most closely align to that who I am, that core self, which is completely the opposite of what we do in our American culture, right? As we look out and try to find a box out there, a conventional role or relationship that kind of sort of matches who we are. And this is different. This is about creating a life, designing a life piece by piece over time that aligns to who you are, like a custom tailored glove for your own hand and no one else's. And that it's not complicated, but of course it's difficult, right? Because of all the expectations, the roles, the rules, the beliefs we have, and so on, our woundedness, our fears. And many other, there's so many traditional tools, and the example I gave of the core questions is more of a modern tool, a psycho-shamanic tool. But things like dream work or retrieving a power animal, going on shamanic journeys to seek answers and clarity about a decision point in one's life, a vision quest, as you've mentioned, you and I have both done, or soul retrieval work, and on and on. But it's all to helping one get a clear and solid sense of one's core self, so that then you can start moving through the world and your life without confusion. So if people criticize you, you don't react, you just smile because you see their lostness and you keep moving forward because you know where you're going. It's and in such, we talk about power. There's great power that comes from this, and not oppressive power or exploitative power over other people, but the power of someone who knows why they're on this planet and where you're going. And that's what we've lost, right? We try to replace that with finances and objects and consumer goods and travel, and it doesn't fill the hunger, the emptiness inside.
Yeah, and bling and a bunch of other things. Yeah, you know what I love about this? This has been, I got to tell you, I was reading your book, and I'm gonna digress for a minute. I was reading your book, and everyone that I know, 15 years, okay, Jeff, right? Just imagine, opening up my mouth, 15 years, anywhere from 10 to 14 hours a week, right? You can do the math on how many interviews I've done. I'm a kid that stuttered through my teens. So most of the people that I grew up with said that we don't think it's even you on air. No, it's not possible. How could you even be doing this? But here's what I want to say about your book and what the possibilities are. When we say yes to a journey, and when you've laid it out so beautifully and innovatively as you have, you are shortcutting the process for a person like me who didn't know what I didn't know. And by the way, I still don't know what I don't know. The difference, though, is I want to learn. And that's what you're offering us. But the thing that I got really clear about is I'm reading your book and I'm thinking, this guy has had to be a New Yorker or something, just the way he's talking. I mean, I didn't know that backstory. And I thought, we have to bring street smart spirituality now out to the public. And then I thought, what a great idea. I wonder who's doing it. I had forgotten that was actually something that I had started and didn't finish. And I entered into the trap. And I would love for you to talk about this because I do believe we can step in traps. Anybody that's been out on a vision quest, I'm telling you, there's a bunch out there. But I think I stepped in the trap of being unworthy to deliver the message. And I'm going to skip the break, Benny. I would love for you to talk about that because unworthiness is not going to allow us to follow the breadcrumbs in your book. It's not going to allow us to follow the ego. By the way, it was actually a turkey vulture that saved my life when I got lost in the high desert on my vision quest. But it's not going to allow us to do that because we're cutting off the lifeline of possibility. Can you please talk about that? Talk about how to become a modern day shaman and leave fear and doubt and unworthiness and not enoughness behind. Because I know those of us that are out here talking, we're here because we did have to get past that at some level, right?
Yes. And oh boy, you've hit something on the head here.
I know. It's weird.
Yeah. So I started doing this work. The core of what I do is one-on-one counseling work with people using these principles, right? And some shamanic ceremonies and so on. It surprised me how many women specifically had great difficulty even naming what they wanted. I didn't expect this at first because I'm a guy, right? And I have this privileged status and I'm white and all this. So my problem in my particular story was not knowing what I wanted per se. It was being given permission to say, that's so important that you have to start honoring that. Okay. So that was the big insight for me is like, oh, you mean I need to start following my heart. And once I had that permission and support, it was, just like falling down the stairs. But I'm working with women and we get to this point where I look up and I say, okay, well, take a moment and imagine the kind of life your heart really wants to be living, okay? And when you have some clarity on that, just, tell me what comes up. So I'm sitting there with my legal pad and a poised pen, and the woman would often look up at me and go, could you repeat the question or something like that? And I would repeat it. And after a while, I began to realize that she had no idea. She would, make the attempt to look within. But it was almost like a numbness or a cutoff, like a paralyzed person who was not trying to be difficult with me, but there was truly nothing there. And of course, there is something there. And so I began to learn, that this is a particular problem given the way so many women are enculturated to serve others, right? And anything that is not other directed is selfish and all these other negative code words and beliefs we have. And so the fears and the doubts and the self-loathing, it's like you make a step forward towards your bliss and the crows come from all directions and land on your head and start pecking on you, saying, what the hell's wrong with you? Why?
Exactly.
You're being selfish. So I know I'm going on here, but
no, please go on. I skipped the break. I want you to go on.
Okay. Well, what I say to people to try to break through this is my belief and the core of these ancient, time-tested, earth-honoring traditions would have to say about that is our number one responsibility in life is, believe it or not, not to make sure our children have braces and Montessori school and Suzuki violin. It's not to make sure our parents are ultimately well kept in a nice nursing home at the end of their life and so on. Our number one job is to come fully alive as the unique person that we're put on this earth to be. And out of the abundance of that, when you start getting the hang of that and coming alive and living a more power-filled life, then yes, you serve your children, you serve your parents, you serve the community and your friends. But instead of doing that out of a sense of grim duty, right, and bare-knuckled, using up every resource you have and being empty yourself at the end of the day, you bring yourself alive first, right? The influence of a vital person vitalizes. That's Joseph Campbell.
Yes, that is.
And I just love that because, he says we don't serve the world by being on committees and trying to move the deck chairs around on the Titanic. We serve the world by being a light, bringing ourselves alive first. And that is not selfish because ultimately in this program, in this approach, you have to make a return. That's the consummation. That's the intercourse, so to speak, between one's own vitality and the needs of a very wounded world. So you do return and serve the world, but there's a sequence, and you got to find your soul first.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine. Many of you guys might know him. Well, two friends. First of all, Dr. Ronnie DeLewis, and secondly, Les Brown. And for many of you, if you know Les, he's a motivational speaker. Yeah, all of the above. But he is a guy that when I think about modern day shamans, other than you, Jeff, I'm thinking about this man, right, who touches the lives of so many people in so many walks of life and helps us rise up. What you help us do is, now that we're rising up here, Jeff, you help us learn how to take the next step. And if it wasn't for Sidonia Cahill, for me, a woman I met in the 90s became my mentor. Taking this girl from the Bronx out on a 10-day vision quest. Are you kidding me? Right? If you folks want to get a hot flash, think about going on your vision quest and not having your cell phone. Okay. Unless, Jeff, I don't know if you let people have cell phones, but
no.
No. What happens is, I would like for you to talk about this now in the last minutes we have. I learned a new sense of freedom. I had never been that scared in my life. And I'm a girl from the Bronx. I grew up in the projects, Jeff.
Yeah.
But I had moments out there where I faced my fears and I thought I was done. And then more things. I mean, I spent 24-hour period with a family of lizards in a medicine wheel that I had made, and I wouldn't, because I shut the door to get in. I wasn't about to get out. And I spent, the full day and the night, right? No tent, with a family of lizards, because I picked a beautiful piece of driftwood that I didn't know those folks were living in. How can you help us today now with taking that next action? See, it's only one action at a time. It's the next indicated thing. That's what we're doing. That next indicated thing, that one thing. What have you learned about that?
Yeah, just a word about the Vision Quest. It's a brilliant ancient technology for quieting the mind. And, as you said, what happens is you get out there and you meet your dark side. You meet your so-called shadow, whether you know what it is or not, whether it's busyness or fear of the dark or wild animals or negative thoughts or boredom, all of that stuff, you cannot get away from it. And that's the first part of the Vision Quest. And it's a brilliant way that they figured out, without chemicals and therapy and everything else, to put a person in contact with the very thing that is blocking them from their power. So you do meet the dark side out there. And now I've forgotten your question.
Well, I want to talk with you. Yeah. What I want to talk with you about is what we all too often forget and then don't do. that next indicated thing. See, we think in order to be a shaman that we have to lay out 3 years of our life to go study on a mountain. That wasn't me. I learned how to do the next indicated thing. That's what practical shamanism or modern shamanism or your book, this field manual, is about. It's not like, oh my God, I got a plate of lasagna. Mom just cooked an entire pan of lasagna. It's not eating the whole pan at once. It's like, man, we're going to eat this for a week, a little bit at a time. What's the next indicated thing we can help people with today?
Thank you. I'm thinking of a statement by the Dalai Lama. Someone said to him after reading his books and attending his retreats, that, so, okay, what can you condense all this down? Like how do you get happy? And he smiled and he thought in his way and he said, every day, just do a little more of what makes you happy and do a little less of what makes you unhappy. And I just thought that was brilliant, because that's essentially what I'm encouraging people to do at the end of the day after leaving one of my sessions or reading the book is wake up in the morning. And instead of starting today with the question from hell that we all start the day with, which is something like, okay, what needs to be done next? Feed the cat, read the email, get to work, and next thing we know, we're collapsing in bed at the end of the day, exhausted and having done nothing forward directed toward our heart. Instead, starting the day with a beautiful, wicked, transformational question like, what's one small thing that would bring my heart a little more fully alive today? Something in the direction of something that I really want to do if I didn't have fear, if I did have the money I needed and so on, without letting all the negativity and the inner judgments get in the way. So yes, it's a practical and, dare I say, compassionate path. Does not require one to leave one's marriage, sell one's house, move to a desert island. You may wind up wanting to do that.
Exactly.
Right? You may need to change things, relationships and so on, but you have time. And the point is to just start honoring that quiet invitation, that quiet little voice in your heart, like a little cat rubbing up against your leg saying, hey, instead of kicking it aside every time it comes up. And the amazing thing is doing that day after day will change your life if you take it seriously. If you listen to that voice, honor that voice, and at some point start enacting, making actual changes toward honoring that. It's really that simple. And of course, that difficult, depending upon how deeply immersed one is in a false life that's not authentic.
Well, what I found in life, and I hope you'll come back so we can do part 2. What I found in life is when I get those messages, and they've always been to expand. I have never gotten a message from Spirit that was to play small.
Right.
I never have. And, part of that is, and I talked about this on air the other day, I learned that most of my life I was playing not to lose. And then I learned that what Spirit wanted me to do was play to win. And the idea of winning is not winning for self-gratification, but if we win at that next indicated thing, we will create a better world, right?
Yes.
Right?
Exactly. That's how we transform the world. Yeah. It's not about just hiding and doing whatever the hell you want. That's not the message of this book.
No,
it's about bringing yourself alive, and then you heal others. People are attracted to the light. Like a person was drawn to the light in Louis Armstrong's horn, right?
Yeah.
You could not stay away from that beautiful sound. And we walk around like that. And that is how we begin to heal others, not to mention ourselves.
Oh, no kidding. Jeff, thank you so much. I am so thrilled I had a chance to chat with you. I would love for you to please, again, one last time, tell folks how they can find out more about you. And then one last question. What's your personal message? What would you like to leave us with today?
Okay. Well, you can find my website at greatplainsguide.net. greatplainsguide.net, or email me at greatplainsguide@gmail.com. I'm also on Facebook if you search those words. What do I want to leave people? You can be you can do what you want. You can do what your heart longs to do. If you simply are 51% more interested in that than you are 49% worried about how you're going to do it, what people are going to say, how you're going to pay for it, what would happen to the relationships and the mortgage and all that, right? If you just honor your heart, begin looking into how to do that. You don't even have to know how to do that. So many resources out there like this book is you can live the kind of life that would really bring you alive. It's available to everybody.
Wow. Thank you so much. Benny, thank you for pushing all the right buttons, and thank you for giving away, help us give away a copy of Jeff's book. Jeff, thank you for all that you do.
Thank you, Pat. Such a joy and a privilege. Very helpful to be on your show. I'd love to do it again sometime.
I would love for you to do it again. We're going to be rocking it, and I'm looking into that Vision Quest. I need a tune-up, Jeff. Hey, everybody, stay tuned. Another hour on Transformation Talk Radio coming up right now.
Put me down upon my knees. Oh, I beg and plead, singing, come out of things unsaid. Shoot an apple off my head and a trouble that can be made.
The preceding audio was via a Skype call.